Morning. So, since the publication of the BBC article on breathwork, I've had quite a lot of inquiries. I thought the most sensible thing to do would be record a video where I explain a little bit more about what's going on with breathwork. Um, so, breathwork is any way in which we consciously change our breath in some way or other. And what we know is it recruits different parts of our brain when we do that. But we can also directly influence our nervous system through the breath and fundamentally how we feel mentally, physically, and emotionally. Now, there's three main categories of breath types of practices because there's so many out there, aren't there? It can get really confusing. Like, what do I do? What does this mean? And when people say breath work, it can encompass this huge range of practices. So I'm going to unpack it, hopefully in what will be a simplifying way that I've found has helped me understand what is going on with breath work. So there's three main, what we might call categories of breath work. The first is mindful breath awareness. And mindfulness research has really done a great job in showing us that this is simply noticing the breath without consciously trying to change it. Um, and what we know is that for many people, bringing our awareness to our breath brings our awareness more to our bodies. And for many people, that is very soothing. It brings us into the present moment. We're noticing how this feels, this breath now in the nose or sensations. And for some people, that can certainly be very, very calming as a practice, bringing us into the present moment. The middle category consists of what you might call regulating breath practices, also maybe functional breath practices. Functional breath practices being simple practices that help you achieve more efficient, more natural, more healthful breathing. Because essentially, breathing is a habit, just as we can have good habits, we can have bad habits, and the same can happen with our breath. So, the functional breathing or regulating breathing practices would regulate the system, the nervous system, in some way or other. Often it's around calming the nervous system, can be around balancing the nervous system, and some practices kind of like rev things up, kind of give people more energy. And that's kind of we're controlling the breath more, generally speaking, in this category. And there's then a third category, which I tend to draw as this big kind of like shape like this. Um, this is working with something called the conscious connected breath. And often when people talk about breath work these days, this is the category they mean. And often in this category, we are breathing in a particular way for about an hour. And this is a whole different ballpark of breath practice. I teach across the range of all of them because I feel they're all really, really valuable in their own ways. But it is what do I need to practice breath for in any given moment? Now, when we work with the conscious connected breath, and just to say, there are many, many different schools working with the conscious connected breath over a wide range, um, right from holotropic breath work, which is full on, often normally I think through the mouth, very strong breathwork practice that was established by Stanislav Grof. He was a psychiatrist. And when they banned LSD, he was working with LSD with a lot of his patients. And when they banned LSD, he realized you could access similar places through breathwork. So that's kind of on one extreme end there. And there's varying different schools of breathwork. And the school I trained in and the school I teach in, we work, we offer people from a very gentle way of doing this up to whatever their body wants to do, or whatever they feel safe with in their systems, so that people have more choice. It makes it very, very trauma informed, which is very close to my heart. and can be very powerful. But what is going on when we breathe this conscious connected breath? And why might we do it? Well, we might do it because it's very healing. It can help people access parts of themselves that they might not have met in a long time. It can help release old emotions. It can help meet traumatized parts of ourselves. And it can help us achieve what we might call a breath release. Because if you think about it, when we have a shock, what do? We can hold our breath. And that inhibition of the breath, especially if it was maybe repeated regularly in childhood, is going to train your breath around a certain way. It's going to inhibit your breath. So, in the conscious connected breath, interestingly, we are actually taking most of the time, we're taking the system into a little bit, or in those more extreme breath practice, a lot of hyperventilation. And you might think, well, that's not a good thing, is it? But it's only for that period of time, because during that period of time, when we're breathing this way, what happens is something called transient hypofrontality. And it's basically the hyperventilation, breathing that way in this rhythmic, regular way for about an hour, starts to um, constrict the blood flow to the cerebral cortex, the thinking part of the brain. What does that do? It is not going to kill you. It's not dangerous in a short-term way, because it's just going to slow your thinking brain down, and it's going to bring your awareness into more of what Bessel van der Kolk calls the emotional brain. That is your limbic brain and your brain stem. And that is going to help you start to access what might be held below the level of your thoughts, the unconscious things that are habits and behaviors that might be also sabotaging behaviors that are happening in your life, things that are keeping you stuck, limiting beliefs. We can start to access all that stuff through the conscious connected breath, which is why it's such a powerful practice. I was saying practitioner because in my mind I was thinking, but what's really important is who you do it with, that you do it with someone with whom you feel safe, in a setting in which you feel really safe. If you're wanting that deep therapeutic work, so if groups, you like groups, brilliant, but for many people, they need one-on-one work this way to feel really safe. So it's a very interesting field that neuroscience is really starting to unpack, because we didn't really know why it was helpful until we didn't really understand. We knew it was powerful, but we didn't really understand what was going on until fairly recently. But now we see, it's slowing down the thinking brain by reducing that blood flow a little bit, enough to start getting to what's held in the what we might call the body mind, the unconscious body mind. So it's really powerful. And, I was talking about, we have these little shocks, or essentially the best metaphor I can think of is that most of us have learned to compress ourselves. And so we're living in this smaller bandwidth. When we hold the breath, suppress the breath, aren't breathing fully and deeply, we aren't fully and deeply alive. It's interesting, in almost all cultures, breath means life or spirit. That's the meaning of the word breath. So as we start to breathe this conscious connected breath, the best metaphor I can think of is we're steadily starting to increase our bandwidth, because what happens is we overbreathe, we encourage deeper, fuller breaths. And what happens is we might have a breath release where we release something that was holding us tight. Often people say it's really tight here, for example. So that's what we are doing with this conscious connected breath. And it can be for many people a very spiritual practice. I've had people experience feelings of oneness that they might have never had in their entire life. It's not denominational in any way. It doesn't matter what faith you're in, or whether you're an atheist or an agnostic, but you can start to have this connection to something more, if you like, feeling more connected to yourself and your body, more connected to the people and the world around us. It's effectively like we've got our own little mini glass ceiling inside ourselves. We talk about that glass ceiling, but for many of us, in fact, all of us, I would say, the main limiter is ourselves, our own limiting beliefs. And so in breath work, you can start to meet that glass ceiling, so to speak, and start to bring it up so that we can live more and more of who we really deeply are, our true purpose, find our joy again, what we love doing. And it can be deeply, deeply transformational in my experience. I've worked with many people over the years, and most people come at a crossroads of some point where they feel stuck and they've realized the stuckness is in them. It's not anything imposed by anybody outside. So, breath work in this sense can be very, very powerful and start to help us live more of who we are. And of course, when we release the breath to become, we're doing this kind of stronger practice for maybe an hour or so. When we've released, then afterwards, our breath can become more natural. It can become more full and relaxed and breathing more into parts of our body, maybe that we've been tense and holding on to. So, in the long run, conscious connected breath is going to improve your ability to breathe more healthfully. In the short run, while you're actually doing it, you are hyperventilating a little bit. And an experienced practitioner can guide you so that you're only meeting the edges of what feels comfortable to meet. Some breath practices really go for it. They push people through. I'm I'm in the trauma-informed spectrum of this, where we really know people need to have a choice because you can breathe in and out through the nose or the mouth. So we always give people a choice. The nose breathing, conscious connected, is a circular breathing rhythm where we just have no gaps in the breath. We can do it fast. We can do it slow. So we give people the choice in our breathwork school, and we can also do it through the mouth. That's going to be more activating. More air is coming in and out. It's more stimulating in the lungs. It's a whole different ball game. And the important thing with the conscious connected breath, we call it the conscious connected breath. It's conscious because we're noticing what's happening as we're breathing this way. It's connected because it stays in a circle that never ends. And so there's other principles we bring into this way of breathing that help people really find their sense of connection to themselves and move through what might be stuck. But it can be so empowering as well, because ultimately you're doing the breathing. You have the dials, so to speak, in your hands. You can dial it up by breathing through the mouth, maybe. You can breathe more deeply, fully, or faster. You can dial it down by breathing through the nose and breathing more gently or slowly. So the way we teach it, there's a lot more of control and empowerment to the client. We're never going to say, you've got to do it through the mouth. You've got to do it that way, because we know you actually don't. So that feels really important to say. So I hope that's made sense, what I've tried to explain there, because I know it does get very, very confusing. And I teach that. I facilitate people in that style, conscious connected breath, but I also teach this category and a bit of the mindful breath awareness, because I know that at different times in our lives, at different days in our lives, different moments in a day, we might need something different. We might need something very calming, in a moment that nobody needs to know we're even doing, just to help regulate our nervous system. Um, we might have like a luscious long practice of that, where we just relax the body before sleep, for example. And there's times when we know, okay, I need to go deeper. What's holding this stuck somewhere? What's holding this back? What's holding me back? Or we need a vehicle to help us process emotion that's got stuck along the way. So then we might go to the conscious connected breath. And people have a variety of experiences in this category. It can be really physical. Sometimes even the body can shake. We can have physical sensations. We can be emotional. Very often, if people have been holding on, it can be quite emotional. We can receive insights. It can take our brain into these altered states of consciousness or alternative brain states that we maybe only experience very momentarily in our life. The brain states where we can receive creative ideas or insights. So it can really take us to those places when we breathe this way. So we might receive insights. And as I said, it can feel very, very beautiful, very spiritual and connected. So what we always say is you go where you need to go. There's one very important thing I haven't said about this kind of breath work, and that so we've got the conscious connected breath. So there's two pillars that we use when we work with this conscious connected breath. There's two pillars. The first is the conscious connected breath, but the other pillar is the creative power of the mind. The mind has a huge power of creativity for good or bad. I think it was the Henry Ford quote that says, whatever you believe or whatever you think either is true or will come to be true in time. Our minds are so powerful for good in our systems or bad. And what we do in breathwork is we focus on bringing in intention, like where's the good? Where do you want to go? And then what happens is this sets this sequence off in the brain networks where you've set your intention and the brain networks go, well, okay, now we need to solve this problem. How do we get to there? And then we breathe with the conscious connected breath. And it's like the brain starts working it out for itself. But below the level is the thinking mind thinks it knows everything. But it's astonishing how often when people go into a breath journey, you go, I never saw that solution, or I never saw that was the issue that was blocking me. And so it can be very effective and efficient in helping us meet our goals, meet our deepest life intentions. Like what is it you really want? What is it you long for in your life that's keeping you stuck? So the breath is this powerful vehicle for helping us ride the waves of life, but also ride and move through what's been stuck in our systems. And I'm constantly blown away when I work with the conscious connected breath and actually all the practices, how quickly in the regulating practices I can help people come back to feeling calm. It's 5 minutes can do the job. It's amazing. And also the depth of healing that people can receive with the conscious connected breath. So it's something realistically you need to experience to understand. So I've created the app, the My Healing Space app, and that's mainly focused on regulating and mindful breath awareness, as well as lots of neural exercises. Really, the main focus of the app is helping people find their calm. But there is a secret section in the app that unlocks when people have worked with me with the conscious connected breath, where you can access these other deeper practices. But personally, I like to people to work with me first, so I don't offer that up until people have had an experience and they've got someone they can come to with any issues, that blockages or difficulties. So the app's there. The app's actually got a class, a version of a class called Breathe on it, which is like I'm doing that because it's like a heart-shaped shell or stone there. And that's a really good starting point, as is the free foundation course on the app. It's a really good starting point for anybody at all. Very, very safe to practice. Um, and I do a class called Breathe, where we introduce a little bit of the conscious connected breath just to get a feel for it. And that's a great class to come to because you can also, I stay on at the end of the class and you can bring your questions. So it's a helpful place to kind of get a bit more information. And then I do also work one-to-one, but I also work with groups where I call them Breathe Deeper, where we're going into a really deep dive with the conscious connected breath. And that's a beautiful, beautiful way to work with. I recommend doing all of them. I think they're all great and really powerful in their own way. I hope that's gone some way to explaining what's going on and to allay any confusion that can happen when we talk about breath work. Take care, and hopefully, I'll share some information how you can get access to the My Healing Space app or any of the groups that I'm doing. I'm also a breathwork trainer for Breathing Journeys Breathwork School. So we're training people who are either therapists, coaches who've already got client experience, or people who've gone on a deep personal journey and have a significant experience with the conscious connected breath. We're training them to become breathwork practitioners. It's deeply rewarding work with my breathwork, I call him my breathwork partner, John Paul Mason. So yes, there's a lot going on with breathwork right now. It's very popular, it's very fashionable. I'd say if you're choosing a breathwork practitioner, just check the training they've done, check the accreditations that training has. You know, there's some people who are offering breathwork and they've literally done 4 days of training, and there's some people who are offering it and they've done a 2 year training. So the training I did was 2 years. The training we're offering through Breathing Journeys is a 9 month intensive, but it's 200 hours plus. So there's a huge range of breathwork practitioners, and yeah, it's the main thing I think is to find someone you feel really safe and comfortable with. I hope that's helpful. I've said that a few times now because I keep thinking I've got to the end of this and think, oh, I'll just say another thing. But I think that's everything. So have a great day. And even if you just get my app and do the day 2 session for the foundation course, it's 7 minutes long. It is a bit of a comedy video because my dog got very involved with licking my face. But it's the couple of very, very simple practices that are so powerful in the day 2 of the Understanding and Befriending Your Nervous System Foundation course. It's free, it's accessible to everybody, and it could just be very life-changing to do that one video every day. We know that 5 minutes a day makes a difference. So take care and have a good day.